The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media. Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show.
Cup of Joe Wrestling Show?
With Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey as he takes a look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network.
Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. I'm your host, Joey Harris, and we are broadcasting from makeshift studios in the shadow of South Central Virginia. You can follow the show's Twitter at Cup of Joe Pod, email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com. You can support the show at paypal.me/cupofjoepod. I am on Cash App and Venmo at the Joey Harris. Folks, back again, and just wanted to take time out here at the beginning. Note the passing of Japanese wrestler Kobayashi, known for his famous series with Tiger Mask, as well as the passing of James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader, Mufasa, starred in Field of Dreams, among many other shows. I saw him in a televised recording of the Driving Miss Daisy play, where he played Hoke, versus Angela Lansbury as Miss Daisy a few years ago. So just rest in peace to both of them, and our thoughts and prayers with their friends and fans and family. Today we look at Spring Stampede 1994 from WCW. Spring Stampede 94 was shown on pay-per-view on April the 17th, 1994 from the Rosemont Horizon in Rosemont, Illinois. It is a suburb of Chicago, and there were 12,200 in attendance. We start out with our intro. Mean Gene Okerlund welcomes us to Spring Stampede and introduces Aaron Neville to sing the national anthem. Tony Schiavone and Bobby Heenan then welcome us and talk about the main event, Johnny B. Bad versus Diamond Dallas Page with the Diamond Doll. Bad clotheslines Page to the outside. Page comes back with a backdrop and a crossface. They trade moves. Bad with an armbar. They each get covers. Bad with a drop kick. Bad ran into a turnbuckle. Page with a belly-to-back suplex. He kicks Bad. He hits a gut buster and gets a 2 count. Page with a headlock. Bad comes back with a belly-to-back suplex. He clotheslines Page down and hits a backdrop. Bad with the head scissors. Bad knocks Page through the ropes and hits a suicide dive. Bad gets the pin after a sunset flip. Tony and Bobby run down some of what we're going to see. Mean Gene and Jesse Ventura allude briefly to Jesse winning his court case against Vince McMahon before talking about the hotline. They then talk about the main event and the Chicago street fight. WCW World Television Championship match, Lord Steven Regal with Sir William versus Brian Pillman. Pillman attacks Regal as soon as the bell rings. Regal with a leg dive, but Pillman continues the assault. He slaps Regal. They battle to the outside. Pillman drives Regal's arm down on the ropes, back and forth. Regal in pain. He hits some European uppercuts on Pillman. Regal with a wrist lock. They trade blows. Regal with a backdrop. They hit each other hard. Pillman with a roll-up for a 2 count. Regal with an STF. Pillman gets out and Regal with a modified crossbow to Pillman. Pillman gets out. They chop each other. Pillman gets a quick 2 count. Regal with a Regal roll for a 2 count. Regal tries for the crossbow again, but doesn't have it all the way. Pillman gets out only for Regal to go into a half crab. Regal with a series of holds to ground Pillman. Pillman gets out and knocks Regal down. Regal comes back with a wrestling hold. They chop each other again. Pillman with a headbutt. 3 minutes left. Regal goes back to the European uppercut. Pillman with a drop kick. Pillman goes for another drop kick, but Regal catches the leg to go for a Boston Crab. Pillman breaks free. 1 minute left. Pillman with a drop kick as Regal comes off the second rope. 30 seconds left. Pillman with corner-mounted punches. They fall out of the ring. Pillman suplexes Regal in and covers, but time expires and the match is a draw. Mean Gene talks to Colonel Parker and Bunkhouse Buck. Parker says tonight is his night. He talks about the bunkhouse match. Buck says this is also his night and his match. Chicago Street Fight Falls Count Anywhere non-title match. The Nasty Boys Brian Knobbs and Jerry Sags versus Cactus Jack and Max Payne. They start to fight on the ramp as soon as the faces come out. Payne and Sags fight in the ring, and Payne slams Sags down. Sags throws Payne into a barricade. Jack hits Knobbs with a sawed-off pool cue. Sags hits Jack with the cue and a chair. Payne and Jack beat the Nasty Boys out on the floor. Knobbs clotheslines Jack into the ring. Knobbs and Payne fight towards the crowd beside the ramp. Sags takes the cue and clotheslines Jack out with it. Payne and Knobbs fight out to a clearly fake souvenir stand. Knobbs throws a trash can and a table at Payne. Sags and Jack fight out to the other side. Payne slams Knobbs through the merch table. He stuffs a shirt into Knobbs' face. All 4 men battling by the merch stand now. Nasty Boys run Payne into a set-up table and hit Jack with another table. Nasty Boys throw a table out on the ramp. Jack suplexes the table onto Sags. Knobbs hits Jack with a shovel. Sags tries to pile drive Jack on the table, only for the table to collapse. Sags throws Jack into the concrete and hits him with a shovel to get the pin. Jesse Ventura interviews Johnny B. Bad. Bad says he's on a roll and wants a shot at the winner of the U.S. title match. United States Championship match. Steve Austin with Colonel Robert Parker versus the Great Muta. Muta out first. The crowd boos Austin and Parker when they come out. The bell rings. They circle each other. They finally lock up. Austin breaks. Muta with a side headlock takeover. Austin gets to his feet. He gets to the ropes. A Muta chant goes out. They circle each other again. Austin with a series of moves. Muta with an abdominal stretch. A series of reversals. Muta with a waistlock. Austin reverses. This has been a mat-based match. Muta goes back to the side headlock takeover. He then reverses a suplex. He goes back to the side headlock takeover. Austin back to his feet as Muta keeps the side headlock on. He goes back to the takeover. Austin with the head scissors. Muta gets out and Austin rolls out to regroup. Muta with a hammerlock to keep Austin grounded. Austin knocks Muta out. Parker chokes Muta. Austin out to attack Muta. Austin throws Muta into the barricade. Austin keeps up the assault as Muta gets back in. Austin with an abdominal stretch. Austin grabs the rope for leverage. Referee Nick Patrick keeps checking to see if Austin is using the ropes. Patrick catches Austin and Muta hip locks out of the move. Muta misses a drop kick and Austin hits an elbow off the second rope for a 2 count. Muta comes back with a flurry of moves. Muta with a suplex and a drop kick. He misses a top rope drop kick. Muta hits a stun gun on Austin. The crowd loves it. Austin backs off. Muta with a springboard elbow and a top rope Hurricane Rana. He hits Parker and backdrops Austin over the top rope to get disqualified. He hits a suicide dive on the pair after the match. Jesse interviews Dustin Rhodes. Rhodes talks about Bunkhouse Buck attacking him on WCW Saturday night. He says he is going after Buck with all he has. WCW International World Championship match. Rick Rude versus Sting. We're getting close to Rude's career-ending injury. Sting out first to a great ovation. Rude comes out with the belt raised high. He goes into his pre-match routine. He gets interrupted by Harley Race on behalf of Vader. He says Vader wants the winner of the match. Sting hits Race and goes after Rude. They battle outside and Sting suplexes Rude. He beats Rude down in the ring. Rude ran into the turnbuckle. Nick Bockwinkel has come to ringside to watch the match. Sting with a scoop slam. He brutalizes Rude and gets a 1 count. Sting with a front face lock. Rude trying to get out. He dumps Sting on the top rope and clotheslines him out. Rude goes out after Sting. He attacks Sting in the ring with forearms to the back to get a 2 count. Rude with a camel clutch. He releases it, taunts the crowd, and puts it back on. He gets Sting down again and taunts the crowd. He gets a 2 count. He goes back to the clutch. Sting lifts up and rolls through. They each get a roll up for a 2 count. They trade blows. Rude gets a sleeper on. Sting gets out. Sting with a series of inverted atomic drops, and no one sells that move like Rude. Sting with a series of clothesline. Sting with a reverse corner whip and a stinger splash that also inadvertently catches referee Randy Anderson. Sting with a scorpion deathlock, while also trying to get Anderson back to his senses. Race runs back down to ringside. Sting lets go and knocks Race down. Vader comes to ringside. Sting knocks Vader and Race down. Rude takes advantage and clips Sting's knee. Vader grabs a chair, and Bockwinkel warns him not to use it as Rude tries to put the Rude Awakening on. Race grabs a chair and goes to hit Sting, but hits Rude instead when Sting moves. Sting covers Rude to win, and we have a new champion. The crowd goes wild. Bunkhouse match. Dustin Rhodes versus Bunkhouse Buck with Colonel Robert Parker. Rhodes runs down the ramp and hits Buck with a flying clothesline over the top rope. He hits Buck with a lariat. He suplexes Buck in from the apron. He knocks him back out of the ring. They trade shots on the outside. He gets Buck back in and beats him down again. Buck beats Rhodes down to the outside. Parker chokes Rhodes, and Buck breaks a stick over his back. Buck is beating on Rhodes as Rhodes tries to get away, and Rhodes is bleeding. Buck clotheslines Rhodes to the ramp. Buck chokes Rhodes with his suspenders. Buck throws Rhodes in the ring. He beats Rhodes down. Buck slams Rhodes' knee into the apron. Rhodes is kicking Buck away. Rhodes throws powder in Buck's eyes. Buck takes his belt off and whips Rhodes with it. He kicks Rhodes in the leg. Buck beats Rhodes down in the corner. Buck misses a running kick when Rhodes moves. Rhodes kicks Buck after putting him on the ropes. Rhodes takes his belt off and hits Buck with it. He beats Buck down and takes his cowboy boot off. He runs it into Buck's head. He then takes Buck's shirt off and whips his back. Rhodes clotheslines Buck over the top rope. Buck goes into his pocket and gets something. He goes to hit Rhodes with it, but Rhodes ducks and hits Buck with an atomic drop. Rhodes with corner-mounted elbows. Rhodes with the bulldog and covers Buck, but Parker gets up on the apron. He suplexes Parker in and whips him with the belt. He throws Parker out, allowing Buck to get a roll-up for a 2 count. They trade blows. Rhodes punches Buck down and gets a 2 count. Parker gives Buck a pair of brass knuckles. He then hits Rhodes to get the pin. Jesse interviews Rick Rude. He says he didn't need any help. Vader and Harley Race come in and they start fighting, but they are separated by other wrestlers. Flashback to what led up to the Vader Boss match. Grudge match. Vader with Harley Race versus the Boss. Vader and Race are heavily booed when they come out. Vader and Boss meet on the ramp and start brawling. Boss runs Vader into Race. Boss clotheslines Vader into the ring. All Boss so far. Vader clotheslines Boss down. Vader goes out to the ramp and runs to splash the Boss, who gets his knees up. Vader clotheslined to the floor and thrown over the barricade. Boss then slams Vader on the barricade. Vader regroups with Race. Boss with the corner whip and splash. The Boss slams Vader. Vader comes back with some shots and a backdrop that sends Boss out of the ring. Vader's mask is off and he is bleeding. Vader splashes Boss for a 2 count. Vader beats Boss in the corner. Boss comes back with shots. They trade blows. Both men down. Boss with the clothesline. Vader goes for a Vader bomb, but the Boss slams Vader off first. Boss with a DDT from the second turnbuckle for a 2 count. Boss with another cover, but Vader with a foot on the ropes. Boss goes up top, but Vader catches him with a power slam. Vader hits a Vader bomb to get a 2 count. Vader hits a moonsault to get the pin. Race grabs the handcuffs and nightstick, but the Boss gets them first and hits Vader with it. He beats Race down. Nick Bockwinkel gets in the ring to stop the Boss. Bockwinkel gets the Boss out of the ring. Mean Gene talks about the hotline. Jesse is with the Boss and Nick Bockwinkel. Bockwinkel says the Boss went too far, and he takes the handcuffs and nightstick and says he's no longer the Boss. Main event for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Ric Flair versus Ricky Steamboat. Steamboat out first. He does the fire-breathing routine. Flair with a tremendous ovation when he comes out. Michael Buffer does the introductions. Beth Flair is shown at ringside. The bell rings and they circle each other. These two could have a good match with each other in their sleep. Flair with a drop toe hold. Steamboat gets out of it. Flair with an arm drag. They start with holds and counters. They each vie for position. Flair backs off and woos Steamboat. They lock up and Steamboat with a takedown. Tony runs down the history between the two men. They lock up. Another series of moves. They slap and chop each other. Steamboat with a press slam and a flying head scissors. Flair sent to the outside. Steamboat throws him back in. He gets a 2 count. Flair rolls out again to regroup. Flair tries to get Steamboat down but can't. They trade chops again. Referee Nick Patrick warns both about using fists. Steamboat with a side headlock takeover. Flair's trying to get back to his feet. He does, but Steamboat doesn't let go. Flair pushes off, and Steamboat comes back with a shoulder block for a 2 count. Steamboat goes back to the side headlock. Flair gets to the ropes. They trade moves. Steamboat goes back to the side headlock. Another series of push-offs and shoulder blocks. Steamboat sent over the top, but skins the cat and rolls Flair up for a 2 count. Steamboat with a side headlock. Flair with a roll-up for a 2 count. Flair tries to get back to his feet. Flair gets out and chops Steamboat. Steamboat with a front face lock. Flair gets to the corner and drives the shoulder in. Flair chops Steamboat in the corner again. Flair punching Steamboat in the face. Flair drops the knee on Steamboat. Flair with a snap mare. Flair gets a series of 2 counts. Flair with a back elbow and another series of 2 counts. They chop each other. Flair begs off. Flair with a clothesline and they both fall to the outside. Steamboat backdrops Flair to get out of a pile driver attempt. They get back in and Flair corner whipped. He goes up and over and is chopped to the floor by Steamboat, so take a shot if you're drinking at home. Steamboat chops Flair on the outside. They get back in. And Flair begs off again. Steamboat with corner mounted punches. He then chops Flair. He covers, but Flair gets his feet on the ropes. Steamboat goes for a sunset flip, but Flair punches Steamboat. Steamboat gets the figure 4 on. The crowd goes wild. Flair is trying to hold on. Steamboat pulling Flair away from the ropes. Flair with a thumb to the eye to get out. Steamboat suplexes Flair in from the apron, but Flair falls on Steamboat for a 2 count. They fight for a backslide. Steamboat gets it for a 2 count. Flair begging off again. Steamboat chops Flair. Flair corner whip to the outside again, both out and down. They get up and chop each other again. Steamboat with a flying crossbody for a 2 count. Flair goes up top, but gets caught and slammed off, so take another shot. Steamboat goes for a body splash, but Flair moves. Flair goes for the figure 4, but Steamboat blocks it. Flair pushes and gets it on. Steamboat fighting the pain. Steamboat reaches for the ropes and finally gets there. Flair goes back to chopping Steamboat, who responds in kind. Steamboat with corner-mounted punches. Steamboat with a superplex. A double count is going. Steamboat gets a 2 count. Steamboat with a roll-up for a 2 count. Steamboat with a double chicken wing. They go back, but both men's shoulders were down. Referee Randy Anderson comes down, and he and Patrick confer with Bockwinkel. There's a lot of confusion. Mixed reaction from the crowd. Tony and Bobby talk to Bockwinkel. He tries to explain what is going on. Bockwinkel says he has to talk to the board. Tony says they'll figure out what's going to happen next on WCW Saturday night and sign off from Chicago. Final thoughts. This was a good show. The main event had a crazy finish, but was good up until that point. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TheJoeyHarris. If you like the show, please leave a review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or your preferred podcast app. I would really appreciate it. We can also be found on Spotify and YouTube. Just search for The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show and don't forget to hit subscribe. Thank you for joining me this week. This is Joey saying so long from the heart of Virginia.
The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media.